All right, hello everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be a 2v2 matchup here on Hillsbrad Creek. We are going to be looking at BsK and YaGami going up against Adski and Fish. Here we have BsK spawning as the purple, undead player here at what I'll call the 5 o'clock position. Meanwhile, on the other side, on the south side, I guess they're going to be across the river here. YaGami spawning as the purple human. Meanwhile, off on the north, we're going to be looking at Frogsy. I believe this is... Frogsy is actually Fish here spawning as the yellow orc. And then finally, Adski spawning as the yellow undead. All right, so... my apologies, the overlay for some reason is not quite working on my screen. You guys can see it on yours, so I'm constantly looking over at that screen to make sure I'm getting the names right. There we go, it finally popped down. All right, so anyways, let's go ahead and break things down here. It is going to be human undead going up against orc undead. No night elf in this matchup. And it will be a Farseer and, it looks like a delayed Death Knight with Crypt Fiends going up against, it looks like a delayed Death Knight with Crypt Fiends and also an Archmage. So, intelligence-based heroes from the orc and the human, and then most likely Death Knights, as Death Knights are so effective at leading the charge and also able to heal up those friendly Crypt Fiends as well. Now, this is a little bit of an interesting layout here. In 2v2 matchups, this undead versus undead are actually opposite each other, and with that, they're not going to be able to death coil each other's units. With that said, it feels like the human and the orc units are going to be on the receiving end of those death coils. Frost Novas and everything else can obviously target multiple targets, but it's really the death coils that really open up the path and try to get units into that low hit point range to get targeted. All right. Hate to be that very first footman, but what was his job? His job is to aggro that creep camp, and then, tank and then pull everything away. So this no warden quickly gonna get cleaned out here. And with that no warden cleaned out, we're going to see perhaps YaGami trying to set up an expo. However, the town hall already in a little bit of trouble. Militia are trying to fight back. No one here on lumber or wood. Are we going to see, there's that militia trying to head back off to the north here. And we're going to see a little bit of fighting back and forth again. There goes one. However, beautiful deny once more as the Arcane Tower now comes online. Arcane Tower feeding back that Farseer. More peasants still going to get trained up there as we see a summoning of the wolves. Archmage does have a wand of mana stealing. There are a couple of peasants here nearby. We may be setting up a tower as we're looking at the wolf here to spot out, and it does in fact spot this expansion. Oh no, lumber mill first being placed down. So YaGami going for an early lumber mill, and I like this play by YaGami. YaGami recognizes and understands that because of all of that early harassment, he is low on lumber, and he's not going to really be able to set up this expansion as quickly as he wants unless he gets a little bit more lumber here. We can see that a little bit of damage being done back. Arcane Tower trying to feed back a little bit more. These peasants perhaps should be heading off to the north here, a little bit too far south. And because they're so far south, he's going to find himself taking damage from these headhunters, and another one gets taken out here. Meanwhile, we are looking at a speed building of this town hall off onto the south side as the undead players seemingly playing a game just versus the computer. All right, so that is the odd thing about Warcraft 3. If you guys are new to Warcraft 3, there are all of these creep camps out here on the battlefield, and those creep camps, the early stages of the game can feel like you're just playing against the computer, and that's exactly what the undead players are doing, trying to, play against the computer to get an advantage. Meanwhile, there goes another wolf there, footman trying to show back up, show over. Are we going to see this one peasant hiding off to the north? He is going to be doing exactly that again, as the Farseer and Archmage are still battling through. I believe there was a wand of mana stealing on the Archmage earlier. But the Farseer now low on mana, unable to summon up additional wolves. Death Knight is sitting at level 2, and this Death Knight also sitting at level 2. Both sides with Unholy Aura. Units are moving around the map fairly quickly. That Death Knight moving faster than I would have expected, even with level 1 Unholy Aura. It looks like there was like boots of speed on him, but that was definitely not the case, as the Death Knight now looking to get to level 3. Level 3 on the Death Knight. Is going to go back for that Tome of Agility. No, he is not. Death Knights are going to go ahead and engage here, and there you have it. There's that little bit of fight here. I do like, well, yeah, I'm just been playing some other RTSs, and there's something about the polish and how these units move compared to others that, well, make even modern games look a little bit dated. All right. Off to the north here, we're looking at Fish picking up a Fire Lord as that second hero. So summoning up units, Farseer Fire Lord as the 1-2 combination. And now the Farseer looking to back away, perhaps pick up some healing salves and some clarity potions as he retreats back home and eventually making its way back over. The expansion of YaGami, well, very well established here. Arcane Vaults. Wow, why would you build your Arcane Vault so far back? Yes, you can shop from it, but you can't sell any items to it since you're not actually close enough. Fish, now, well, going to be looking to get to level 2 off of this creep camp here. We can see triple lava spawns, and they may be able to continue to split more and more if things work out well. Meanwhile, Crypt Fiends, all right, a lot of damage. Farseer coming across here. Death Coil finding another, well, Headhunter as the units are going to try and engage. A bunch of low hit point units, and now in comes the Death Knight as well. And Adski going to be pushing in pressure, and now the lava spawns are going to try to be making their way over. And are we going to be able to slow down any of those units? That is the question. The lava spawns walking and fording the river, perhaps looking to try and pick things apart. Well, Fish has a large number of just range units here. Can they get another split down on these lava spawns? That would be a very big deal. There's one split on another lava spawn. Again, the other two do, well, disappear. So these two lava spawns having, well, another chance on life again, and now going to go after these units once more. All right, Forest Troll Berserker is going to get cleaned up. Farseer sitting at level 2. Fire Lord trying to put down pressure, going after some of these units again, as the Fire Lord, well, does get that soul burn onto that unit there. Meanwhile, Manual of Health. Lich could be in a lot of trouble. What is going on with that Lich? Lich needs a Death Coil. Are we going to see a little bit of damage? Death Knight pathing, and, well, Death Coil not inbound, and there's the, well, down goes the unit. Meanwhile, Death Coil onto YaGami's Archmage, already down to 109 hit points, and the Yellow Army on the far side able to put down a lot of pressure. With that Archmage so low on hit points, he has to think twice about trying to engage, and now BsK is fighting a 2-on-1 fight against a level 2 Fire Lord that doesn't have much mana. All right, that's incredibly important. Farseer didn't bring clarity potions as I originally thought he would, and without those clarity potions, the Fire Lord is just essentially a harder hitting, higher hit, is it even harder hitting? Barely harder hitting, a higher hit point Headhunter. Archmage comes back around, brings a Scroll of Regeneration, trying to live and fight another day. Meanwhile, Death Knight, Death Coil finishes off a Forest Troll Shadow Priest, and those units will be backing up. All right, picking and choosing your fights, tactical hit and runs, and that seems to be the case there, as the Yellow Army of Adski and Fish now looking to fall back. Coming back through, Fire Lord sitting at level 2, getting closer to level 3. We're looking at, well, perhaps the Wolves and all of these units going to try and heal back up once more. Clarity Potion on that Fire Lord really needs to see a big level up. Dual level 3 heroes would be a big deal. Now, in terms of expansions, both sides, or in terms of bases, both sides running on 3 gold mines. Both sides' economies should be fairly even. Let's take a look at the supply. 37, 52. So Undead actually in low upkeep. Meanwhile, Undead here, BsK sitting in no upkeep, and YaGami sitting in no upkeep. So Purple getting, what, 30 gold a second compared to 27? I guess not that big of a difference there, but we do have dual level ups for Fish. Coming back around, Death Knight looking to clear out those creep camps here. Lich, well, I do not believe we'll get to level 2. We're looking at the Goblin Shredder, well, looking to grab a little bit of lumber here, and a lot of just ranged units. Meanwhile, we're looking at an upgrade to a keep here. Mountain King actually stuck in a rather uncomfortable spot. We do see Berserkers now getting trained up. There's a Stormbolt onto the Raider, and is the Berserk Raider going to be able to retreat back in time? That 5-second stun seemingly lasts forever and a day. YaGami, however, well, has retrained to Blizzard. All right, so AoE damage with Blizzard now with the retrain after the initial water elementals. Meanwhile, coming back off on the left side here, BsK trying to go after a red creep camp. This could be very bad news. Big Death Coil to try and save some units as, well, it is a potential creep jack. Little bit of long distance damage. There goes a Frost Nova. There's another Death Coil, keeping that Crypt Fiend alive, at least for now. As the Death Knight, well, should be able to get one more Death Coil. No, in comes Fish off on the other side here. Are we going to see some damage onto some of those units? Lich, wow. Lich was down to 25 hit points, maybe even lower before the Obsidian statue and the Death Coil bring it back up to the 450 range. All right, 2-on-1 fight again. The Tomb of Relics quickly getting taken out here, and this is a bunch of ranged damage. All right, so much range damage. Raiders adding in here into the mix as well to try and keep things alive as the Destroyers are going to engage. Stormbolt onto a Raider. Raider, and now Blizzard now raining down as well as the units are trying to retreat back. All right, low hit point Raider. Oh, Scroll of Healing able to stay alive temporarily. There's a Stormbolt on another, and we're looking at level 2 now on the Lich. Both sides still fighting their way through. Another Raider are going to fall. There goes some Impales. The battle is just massive. Impale coupled with Blizzard, so much damage raining down as we're looking at, well, unit after unit getting finished off here. Mountain King dangerously low on hit points, does have an invul potion, able to stay alive at least a little while longer, but I don't know how long it's going to last. He does have a potion of healing, and he may be forced to use it. No, uses Cloak of Shadows and able to, well, hide in plain sight right now. All right. Battle still raging on. Flying machines having nothing to go after. There's a Stormbolt onto another Raider right there. Mountain King seemingly, well, playing a very dangerous game. There's multiple ensnares, and he does get taken out. All right. Unit after unit getting felled on both sides here. Death Knight could be in trouble. Forced to use the Scroll of Town Portal. Crypt Fiends level up onto the Death Knight. Death Knight using that invulnerability timing in order to gain a few more rounds of hit points as the Undead able to teleport out of that battle. Meanwhile, Farseer is going to be forced to try and retreat back. And, well, I always like to see Tauren Chieftain with Endurance Aura alongside a Fire Lord. That's one of those strange combinations that you rarely even think of, but works out extremely well. A reason being, the fire or the lava spawns, excuse me, the lava spawns split based on how many times they auto attack. So that also means the faster that they attack, and the more attacks they can get in, and the more often they can spawn. I'm not quite sure on the math, but I think bloodlusted level 3 endurance or lava spawns can actually split quite often. So that is an important thing to note. But, well, let's get to the Tauren Chieftain level 1 endurance aura first before we go along that theoretical path. All right, Granite Golem. Well, gonna be pounding down a lot of these footmen here. We do see knights joining out on the battlefield with that Animal War training. Mountain King Paladin here as well. There's some more just, well, those slams right there causing slow, and this Granite Golem just doesn't want to fall. So much damage. Are we going to see another slam here? That would be, oh wow, another Holy Light saving that footman from near death. Cloak of Flames now onto that Mountain King. We see flying machines by YaGami. YaGami really concerned about destroyers, destroyers coming across from Adski. Meanwhile, we're looking at these units backing away again. This all cleaned up now. Acolyte perhaps wanting to set up an expansion, and we still have a couple of red creep camps available on the map. All right, level 3 Fire Lord, level 3 Farseer, level 2 Tauren Chieftain. There's that dual Ring of Archmagi, +8 to every single stat. That Tauren Chieftain essentially having the stats of a level 4, of his level 4 version, or maybe even level 5, as we're going to go ahead and go into a quick ensnare. Oh, beautiful positioning. And this is one of the things that really benefits Orc, being able to ensnare creeps that are trying to simply walk back home and abusing the AI. All right, Rocco, I'm going to get taken down. And what an interesting spot to be in. The flying machines, this is all spotted by BsK and YaGami. YaGami is now, well, the yellow army of fish is actually in between his home base and his opponent. So this is going to be forcing a Scroll of Town Portal. Are we going to get to see some damage here? No, Rock Golem going to go ahead and just teleport out. This will be an easy clear for BsK. But the red creep camp there was already taken out, an item given to the Tauren Chieftain. All right, Tauren Chieftain could be extremely scary at this point. Cloak of Flames, if it does have Stomp, that could be an extremely powerful, nasty 1-2 combination. Standing close to the Tauren Chieftain and not being able to move away or get away from him at all, adding in the additional 10 damage per second. All right. The last of the creep camps to get cleared up here. Lich will get to level 3. That is an important level up now. Level 2 Frost Nova. Tauren Chieftain does throw down that Stomp. Is currently invulnerable. We're going to see Kodo Beast get taken down. There he goes, as the Tauren Chieftain now could be in trouble. Down to 600 hit points, down to 5, down to 4. He's trying to break free. There's a Stomp right there. There's a Death Coil, and Fish's Tauren Chieftain falls at 200 with 200 mana still. A lot more stomps could have worked out well, but he was only at level 2, and even with all of that bonus stats, unable to survive. Meanwhile, Banshee's trying to apply down all of that anti-magic shell. Death Knight could be in trouble, down to 164 hit points. Scroll of Town Portal is going to be in time. No, it is not. That's going to be a level up onto the Mountain King, who is now level 3. All right, this is an absolute bloodbath here, and we're looking at YaGami with so many flying machines and no destroyers to attack right now. All right, so a fair number. Chain Lightning bouncing off, taking down a Mountain King. Both sides still fighting. We're looking at a handful of low hit point units going to get taken down. There goes a Blizzard, and that was a friendly fire kill there, as the units are still trying to retreat back. Archmage falls at level 4. Mountain King, well, already fallen at level 3, and we're still looking at more damage coming on across through. Firelord looking to try and finish off some more of those units. Again, there's a Purge onto a Knight. Knight is going to be able to get away. It doesn't look like it, as a slow-moving footman in front of him, well, blocks the path. All right, everyone just absolutely taking large amounts of damage here. Was that a Goblin Shredder? Yeah, it looked like it. Archmage trying to retreat back, and this is the weird thing sometimes in 2v2s, where you try to build the counter army that is typical in a 1v1, Archmage with Knights and flying machines going up against the Undead, and the Undead doesn't really go for the destroyers that you're expecting. We've seen these flying machines, well, what is that in terms of supply? 5 supply worth of units not being useful. That may not sound like much, but that 5 supply is actually pushing YaGami into low upkeep. So that's costing him 6 gold a second. No, more than that. 9 gold a second. So 9 gold a second, and those flying machines haven't been able to do anything. All right. 540 gold a minute. That's pretty much an entire base being mined right there. We do see, well, Fish now with healing wards. So that will be, that will help keep this army pushing together through and through. All right, Ghoul trying to make its way down across here. This Ziggurat looks like it is going to be completed in time, as Acolytes are going to be repairing. Meanwhile, an Orc or a Watchtower being constructed right next to here, and that's going to be well, cleaned up. So Fish, looking to perhaps set up an expansion of his own, is going to be able to take this one down right now. All right, 300 gold taken out of this gold mine. So this gold mine is not going to be paying for itself. I believe it starts at 12. So between the 385 on the Town Hall and the, well, 300 plus by the peasants, this expansion is never really going to be able to pay for itself. And then adding in the additional experience being provided for Adski. All right. We are looking at 4 bases going up against a potential 4 bases. Fish looking to set up this northern expansion now. Meanwhile, back on the southern side here, what is going to go down? Don't really know quite yet. We do see some mortar teams, and well, mortar teams, as we know, low hit point siege units that are often targeted by spells. All right, Frogs getting ready to push on in here. There's a Blizzard to try and, well, keep units at bay, and it will be able to do that for a little while longer. Level 3 Blizzard, big damage. Death Coil finding the Cripplord. Cripplord able to stay alive a little while longer. Meanwhile, more damage coming on through. There's some more Blizzard. Anti-Magic Shell comes to an end. Paladin gets up to level 3. That's going to be important. There's a Staff of Sanctuary saving a low hit point knight off on the battlefield as the mortar teams are trying to, well, lob down damage. There's that Soul Burn to stop that channeled ability. Are we going to see another one there? There's another channeled ability again. Banshee's taking some damage, and we're looking at just so much damage coming across here. Obsidian Statue down to 22 hit points. One gets taken down. Banshee gets taken down. That is a nasty Blizzard right there, taking down 3, if not more, units already as another Soul Burn goes down onto the Archmage. Archmage wants to save some more units. Another level up onto the Firelord. Firelord sitting at level 5 now, putting in pressure, and both sides just taking so much damage. Healing Wards trying to perhaps stay alive as the Witch Doctors are able to engage still and actually able to attack up. All right, Healing Ward continuing to keep units alive, but out comes a Knight after a mortar team able to splash that down, but no, still not going to be enough. Units still trying to retreat back here. Head Berserkers trying to go after some units. There's level 5 now on the Farseer, as we're still looking at more damage getting racked up again. BsK's Destroyer getting easily taken down right there as the units look to fall back again. All right, stasis traps, units trying to pull back here. A couple of fly machines. We're looking at knights trying to be trained up. This does not look like a good spot or a good position whatsoever. There's Blizzard now raining down. Mountain King going to come across into that position. There's a Thunderclap. There's that stasis trap, though. And Healing Wards impale. Mountain King could be in trouble. Holy Light is going to be in time. Down to 169. Staff of Sanctuary for the save again. All right, the stasis traps really trying to make short work of those knights there. Knights, remember, taking bonus damage from those Witch Doctors, so you wouldn't normally think Witch Doctor damage is high, but at 2 supply and dealing double damage, suddenly that does become a problem. All right, well, webbing down another Destroyer. Destroyer going to get cleaned up here. And now that that's down, we're looking at perhaps still trying to put pressure on YaGami's main base. It is 4 bases, or 4 mining operations versus 4, but the main bases will soon be mined out here in just a moment. All right. Another Knight about trying to get cleaned up here. There's some stasis traps to try and protect from the backside as well. Little bit of bonus damage. There's a massive impale taking down many, or stopping the repairs right there. Meanwhile, the Archmage just gets stomped right there. Archmage could be in trouble. Scroll of Town Portal needed in order to stay alive and going to teleport, well, not too far away. There is a massive thunderclap across all of those units here. Berserkers are upgraded 3-0. Archmage hiding from behind the barracks, able to get in a good amount of positioning and getting some damage here, but the fight's no longer inside his front yard. It is at, well, heading over to the expansion. All right, more impales. The Yellow Army has really been working well together, constantly putting purple into an unfavorable spot, trying to pick and choose how to defend. Usually defense, it is easier to defend a position rather than attack and siege it, but really, well, Fish and Adski's army constantly rotating the positioning on where they're attacking has just worked out extremely well. More mortar teams going to try to lob up here. Oh, what's coming in from behind? Archmage, Mountain King. There's a couple of blizzards here as the Tauren Chieftain throws down a couple of stomps. All right, Mountain King doesn't have that much mana. Soul Burn onto the Archmage, trying to get into position, into a defensive posture, trying to defend the Town Hall here. And, well, the units are just lining up. There goes an impale once more, and Adski still continuing to try and finish off more units. All right, the trails of battle and the reinforcement lines are difficult to draw here. Paladin, Mountain King going to get taken down. There's a Holy Light saving that Mountain King, but for how long? It's about to get taken down, and it does fall at level 3. Paladin trying to retreat back. There goes a Knight as well. Farsi, or maybe forcing a retreat back here, as we see, well, some very low hit point units still surviving somehow, just barely. All right, that knight needs to get staffed back home, most likely. There it is. There's another knight right there. Main gold mines have been mined out. It is 2 gold mines versus 2 gold mines right now. But this gold mine is already nearly gone. This one having about 2 minutes left. After that, both sides will be running on 1 base and 1 base only. And Adski quickly going to the gold mine that has the most gold left to try and, well, make it so it's 1 base versus 0. Doing exactly that right now. We don't see any unsummoning. And Ruby and Tower gonna get finished off right here. Get taken out. There you see a cancellation from the slaughterhouse. Yeah, you don't want to train up a unit that's just gonna be instantly destroyed and, well, perhaps give more experience, and that is gonna be the game. Adski and Fish coming out on top of YaGami and BsK. Let me know what you guys thought about this 2v2 matchup and, well, what could have been done better on both sides.